My name is Gracie. Our daughter's name is Margaret, although she prefers Margot. She's definitely her daddy's daughter. We don't get along very well. I think it's because she and I are both schemers. Throughout our marriage, I cheated on my husband from time to time. I just can't help it. I have a sex addiction, and Jack isn't up to my level in the bedroom. Anyway, that's not why I married him. I married him because he was easy to control, and because he knew how to make good money. Maybe that sounds cold to you, but then you probably live in a trailer and drive a Ford. I drive a Mercedes S-Series and live in a fucking mansion. If you've decided to settle down or haven't prepared for the future, don't judge me. Jack never cheated on me. He used to be like an adorable puppy who followed me everywhere. I taught him everything in the bedroom. Luckily, he believed my claim that I learned it all from the internet. I'm saying he's not up to my level in bed, but he's pretty darn close now thanks to my training. Perhaps this is why I am so sad about our possible divorce. You see, everyone gets caught at some point. In my case, while I was having sex with a lustful citizen of the Dominican Republic, my daughter skipped school and filmed my sex in high definition on the camera of the phone I bought her. God, what a monster I raised. I should have had a fucking abortion, but she was the one who tied Jack to me when we were younger and doubtful. Decisions. Hindsight never helps when you need it. When I got home that day, I saw her grin at me and run upstairs. That's when I walked into the living room and walked straight into a nightmare. My most recent sex scene was shown on TV. Jack sat in front of him with tears and a high-pitched sound coming from his chest. My husband slowly self-destructed before my eyes. I froze. My mind told me to run and grab the cord from the socket, but my body was in shock. We both watched me having hot sex with a young student. In an ideal world, even at this stage, my husband would be horny. Then we might just come to an understanding. But it wasn't to be. He finally jumped up and threw the remote at our very expensive UHD flat-screen TV. His head turned like a tower to face me. His eyes met mine, and all I saw was blind rage or hatred. I can't say exactly what it is. Jack, I can explain it was... Yes, it was an accident or God's providence, right? I thought I knew about the difficulties between men and women, how it rarely works out. And yet I kept trying, like a fool. His hands clenched and unclenched, his breathing was ragged. For the first time since I met him, I truly felt afraid that he might hurt me. Strangely, it sounded like he wasn't surprised by my affair, but I didn't have time to think about it. Instead, he ran into the garage and I heard his truck start, an old Ford that he kept running. He always joked that it gave him farm credit when he went out and tended to his animal patients. Even after he stopped being a veterinarian, he kept that stupid pickup truck. Immediately after that, I heard the automatic garage door start to open, and before I could run into the driveway, he pulled out into the street. Please God, let him buckle up, I heard. My monster, my offspring, also stood on the staircase and looked out the panoramic window. "What the hell do you care? You did this to him," I shouted. "What do you mean, I did this to him? My hopefully soon-to-be ex-mother? I didn't have sex with a guy while I was married, with a guy young enough to be my boyfriend. You are so monumentally naive. What an evil monster I raised. I needed her to get out of here. I started making a plan to save my life, and the first step was to send the prude to her grandparents. After I, of course, confiscated her phone and destroyed the DVD she burned so her dad could watch it. You are going to visit your grandparents. I would advise not to mention any of this to them. You no longer have any proof, and I can certainly make your life extremely difficult while you live under this roof. You're crazy if you think I won't be able to control your father once he calms down, so don't make a kid of me." At the end, I screamed. I thought that she ran upstairs in fear, but then I did not yet know about the cloud. Fucking computers. A day passed. My daughter was safely, or so I thought, hidden where she could no longer harm me, and my husband finally returned home. His eyes were red, and he looked like he was still awake. I rubbed my eyes furiously when I heard him arrive without me changing my clothes. When he entered the living room, I tried to appear in terrible shape. I exhaled carefully in the voice of a little girl. "Please forgive me. I must have had a nervous breakdown. Sniff. I don't know what came over me to allow this to happen. His gaze was cold, even despite the pain. His gaze was full of some incomprehensible emotions. I slowly stood up and hugged him, but noticed that he did not return my gesture. He just stood there, like a fence post or a tree, unyielding. I failed you, us, and our daughter. I can't undo what I did. I love you. Sob. And I won't fight if you want to leave me. I took a calculated risk. It could have gone either way, but I think the odds were definitely in my favor. Finally, he spoke. Would you please stop rubbing yourself against me because I can't concentrate when you do that? I'm tired, and I need more time to think without your influence. I'm going to sleep in the bedroom for a while with the door locked, so you need to take everything you need from there and go to the spare bedroom. It's good that he didn't fall for the divorce gambit. I ran upstairs and grabbed a few things from the closet and master bathroom, then took them to the spare bedroom down the hall. When I was returning, the lock on the door clicked. I knocked lightly on the door. Jack, can we at least talk soon? We can talk in the morning. Now came the hardest part. I needed to look even worse, so I avoided drinking water or eating. I ruffled my hair even more and stuck my finger down my throat to vomit. Some liquid on my sundress. Some carefully applied snot also completed the look. In addition, I placed a glass of vodka next to me and applied a little Vaseline to the back of my hand. I forced myself to stay awake the rest of the day and night to increase the appearance of fatigue. When Jack came down the next morning, I quickly rubbed Vaseline on my teeth to keep my lips open in the semblance of a smile. I also splashed a couple of drops of the remaining vodka in my eyes to induce redness and tears. It hurt like hell, but it was necessary. I saw that he looked much better, although he was devastated. Even better was the obvious concern on his face about my appearance. He still loved me. I had a chance. Oh my God, Grace, you look terrible. Let's get you to bed. He picked me up and carried me to the master bedroom. I sobbed on his shoulder as he carried me into the room and laid me down. It got even better when he lay down next to me and started talking. You hurt me, Grace. You really shook the pillars of heaven. But I don't want you to hurt yourself. Mom called and said they were taking care of Margot, so we needed to talk. He looked confused, but continued, I thought about it very hard. I mean, harder than I've ever thought about in my life. I think I might be willing to give you another chance, but you need some counseling about your issues. There is something else. Whatever, my love, I swear I— Quiet! He almost shouted. I think he was more outraged than he seemed. There's one more thing, Grace. You probably won't like it, but I need you to feel the soul-crushing pain you put me through. I can't tell you when this will happen, but sometime in the future, I'm going to sleep with another woman and film it. If you want us to continue, you'll have to watch me have sex with someone else. Then, we'll be even. I was truly shocked. I created a monster out of my loving husband, and he was determined to disfigure me. The mere thought of him doing to another woman what I had done to my lovers was almost unbearable. But I needed him. I had to go through this to get my life back to where it was. After I get my revenge at some point in the future, I will do the same. In the meantime, assuming we get intimate again, I'll put on a condom. Given my trust issues, I can't risk having another child, so you can try to tie me to you even more. I understand, Jack, my love. I don't want to feel the same pain, but I will do this to keep you. I will go through anything for this. I thought it was a little stupid, but you have to do what you have to do. Over the next few months, we settled into a challenging routine. My demon child came back into the house and she clearly couldn't understand why we didn't get a divorce. I just grinned at her and reminded her that I run this family. After that, she no longer directly challenged me. Counseling was also easy. I just blamed my addiction to sex. The doctor ate it and burped it up for my hubby like he was a baby egret. The problem was, as I mentioned earlier, my husband was trying his best to have sex with me in a stupid way. He took control of the bedroom right out of my hands. Every time he took me, I wondered if he had learned his new passionate techniques from another woman. When we didn't have sex because he claimed he was sick or tired, I worried. Was it possible that tomorrow I would see him making out with a young girl, possibly falling in love with her? The cumulative effect was devastating. As the year progressed, I lost all my self-confidence. I couldn't risk having an outside affair become known to my husband, so I relied solely on him. I was sad when he didn't pay attention to me. I lost weight, although I wasn't fat to begin with. Even my hair lost its shine and became brittle. People at work told me that I looked like I had suffered a shock and had aged 10 years. I couldn't sleep, my joints hurt. Maybe I was aging prematurely. The worst part is that I started to obsess over my husband and, dare I say it, really love him. Everything was in his hands. Every day I expected my world to be taken from me, and, like some evil priest in a movie, my Jack to giggle happily and reach into my chest to rip out my beating heart. My plan was terrible. Who would have thought that the main intriguer would fall into a trap that she herself set? Finally, almost a year later, I can't take it anymore. I decided to pull the plug and see what happened. I sent my daughter back to her grandparents and decided to sort things out with my loving husband. He needed to take a shit or get off the potty. Or I was leaving. Even though I really love him for the first time, I can't suffer anymore. Jack, I can't stand it anymore. I need you to hurry up and find this other woman, have sex with her, and let me watch the tape so we can get through this. He just looked at me. I felt goosebumps crawl across my body as I realized that this look was the same as the one he gave me a year ago. The look of a bug collector when he sees a particularly interesting bug he wants to collect. Or perhaps the feverish look of a young sociopath burning ants with a magnifying glass. What have I done with my actions? Do you really think I can stoop to your level, Gracie? He said in a cold voice. I noticed that he used my full name, which he never did as he preferred the nickname Grace. I never intended to do what I told you. All I've done this year is push you. I wanted you to finally love me, so that when you could no longer bear the worries and doubts, you would give me an ultimatum. He stood up and walked into his office. I heard the key turn in the lock and he came back with a large envelope. You can sign it or not, I don't care. We've come full circle, you and me. I don't care one iota about you anymore, and you seem to love me. I wouldn't care, while you have a hard time imagining me sleeping with some woman out of revenge. You see, now you feel what I felt before. You know what it's like to wonder every day if the one you love is going to give up that love and trust for just sex. A year ago, I had no intention of deciding anything. I just wanted to hurt you as much as possible, without putting you through physical torture. I looked at the papers he handed me, divorce papers signed and dated just under a year ago. My tears blurred the details, but at the moment they didn't really matter. There was one chance Gracie won. If during this time you had admitted everything, stopped trying to pass it off as some kind of mental problem, and actually apologized, we could have made peace. But you didn't. You were dodging and trying to get out, just as I suspected. I'm not stupid, Gracie. I have had my suspicions for a long time, and I am quite sure that this student was not your first outsider. I let it go because of our daughter, and because I loved you then. Anyway, we're done. Sign the papers if you want, but either way, take your things and leave. Margot will stay with me. She's old enough to choose, and that means I'll run the house until she finishes school. You make more money than me, so good luck getting alimony. Leave. Margot will be home soon, and I don't want you here. I was Frankenstein looking at what I had created. I doubted that I would die of pneumonia anytime soon, but inside I was as dead as the monster's creator, Mary Shelley. He planned it all. I even had to wonder if his suspicions and plans began around the time he decided to become a truck driver. This certainly changed the balance of money earned between us, and reduced my chances of using alimony as a weapon to delay the divorce. He was also right that my daughter was old enough to determine where she would live for custody purposes. In truth, the agreement was more than fair. Since he was making less money and would likely become the custodian, I could be forced to pay him child support. I could sue the whole thing, tie it up for months or years, but the enormous economic cost of having a lawyer work for so long makes it foolhardy. Since I had few options, I reluctantly signed the papers there and then, packing a few things before leaving. I can just have the movers pick up the rest. After all, things are just property. What I really want, I no longer have. This should have been the end of my sad story, but my daughter, making it clear that she was not afraid of me and that she never wanted to see me again, uploaded my shameful actions from the cloud to the MILF website. The fallout from my amateur videos was swift, faster than the lawsuit that resulted in them being removed. I lost my job as a veterinarian and was forced to look for a job in another state where I could explain my sudden layoff. Someday, I am sure, I will overcome the pain, the hellish feeling as if I was being cut into pieces. I'm still attractive enough that even if I don't forget Jack, I could replace him. I'm just not sure what benefit it could have. I've been in a marriage before that I entered into not fully loving my spouse, and look where it got me. I'm certainly not as strong as Jack. Jack gave me a whole year to act honestly and correctly, and then perhaps he would accept me again. I couldn't do it. As for my current love life, I have casual relationships, but I am emotionally cold and dead inside. I still love the monsters I created. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.